Another day is here. It's the Blind Radio Guy podcast.
The Blind Radio Guy podcast, and I have another special interview today. It's part of my on-air light series, and today we're talking to Anna Hummel. She is the co-host on the Bubba Network's Bubba the Love Sponge show, airing in 10 markets, and is one of the biggest, or is the biggest radio show on Twitch. And she's also had stops over at The Bone in Tampa. She's also been a promotions coordinator. We're going to talk to her about her journey in radio and just who the hell she is. Anna, what's up?
Hey, I hate to start the interview out on this foot, and it's not your fault, but my name is actually Anna.
Oh, it's Anna.
Yeah, I know. But here's the thing. Like, I don't even get mad about it at all, especially if it's a first time mistake, because when I read other people who have my name, I say Anna as well, because phonetically it is Anna. But unfortunately, my parents wanted to be bougie, and the pronunciation is actually Anna.
Well,
so like Anna,
your parents suck.
I know.
Okay, your parents.
I know. I get it. You know, you're not wrong. So
we have a really cool history, and you probably don't remember this, but we have a cool history. I met you by accident probably about 8 years ago when I was going to start a podcast, and I was seeking for a female co-host. And so you reached out. Yeah, you reached out. We were actually planning on it. It just didn't work out with where I was. I was in Colorado, and a bunch of crap was going on. But you were going to be my female co-host, and then you went on.
I was in Michigan at the time.
Yeah, and then you went on to do bigger and better things, and you don't need this low life anymore. But talk to me about your journey to radio, because you graduated with a bachelor's degree in physical and biological anthropology. So how do you go from that to radio?
It's an unorthodox path, I guess one could say. When I talked to you, I actually was in the midst of completely changing the direction of my life. I was very confused. I'm still confused, but maybe a little less confused about where I want to go and what I want to do. But I went to grad school in Michigan to continue on that path of academia, and realized it was not for me. So decided to completely change directions, burn the ships, quit grad school, and try to break into radio. So that was about next year. It'll be 10 years. So
you took a crazy chance.
Yeah, I sure did. And I remember telling my father, I'm going to talk. Can I swear on this podcast?
Absolutely.
Okay, I was like, I'm gonna talk shit on the radio, Dad. I think I found my passion. And I remember my dad being like, that's not a career. You just made that up. It wasn't part of the quote unquote plan.
Get a real job.
Yeah. The plan was school, but the plans changed. But now my dad is my biggest cheerleader, and every time he comes into town, he demands to be on Bubba's show. So
that's hilarious.
I think he enjoys it more than I do at this point. Yeah.
Well, we got to talk about your history in radio, because you started out exactly how everybody else starts out, a little promotions coordinator.
Yeah.
And that was in Michigan. So that was when you were making your switch, right?
And
trying
that's
to get your feet wet.
Really kind way of saying I was basically just a bitch boy or a bitch girl or a bitch they, whatever, non-binary, who knows. But I was just, kind of like you're handing out flyers, setting up tents, breaking down tables. It's nothing special. It's degrading work, to be honest with you. And I do hate working with the public. So, but I am glad that I did it, because it was necessary to just, like, we all know you have to get your foot in the door somehow, and you can't just walk into a radio station and say, hey, put me on the mic. You gotta pay your dues, as they say. So unfortunately I did that for maybe a couple of years. And I was able to get myself in front of a mic and never see another person in public ever again, because that was horrific. But
people always say that. They're like, you're a public figure and you want to be a public figure on radio. And I'm just like, but this is the best public figure. You get to shut yourself in a room, speak into a thing, and then you decide when you want to hear the public's reaction.
Right. Yeah. If you want to take the calls, you can, but you don't have to. And I love meeting the fans, and I've actually become quite good friends with a few of the listeners that we have at Bubba the Love Sponge show. But for the most part, I like to stay out of the public eye. I've actually deleted or am non-active on all of my social media accounts. So in a weird way, it's like I'm doing this business wrong, and I know I am.
I was going to ask you, do you feel like that hurts you?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because this is the name of the game where you have to self-promote and say, look at me. And
be on all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, but probably about, again, I can't really, time has been warped since the pandemic. So I don't know if it was 6 months ago or 3 years ago, but let's just say it was about 2 years ago. I came to the conclusion that my life was just very performative, and I was spending way too much time on social media, and it was rotting my brain. So I decided to just take the hit and say, listen, this is probably going to hurt my brand, my business, not my business, but the business I'm affiliated with. But I think that it will spare me a lot of mental illness in the future. I could just tell that it wasn't going anywhere good for me. And I was getting sucked in, these people in Silicon Valley that we're all users of their products because we're
slaves to it, man.
Right. So I'm like, this isn't good for me. I should probably like read a book or something. So since that point in time, I've essentially taken myself off of social media. I do run Bubba's Instagram for the show, but outside of that, I mean, I don't post on anything for myself, nothing Instagram, Twitter, nothing. It's really done nothing for me except hurt me and get me fired, which, we can get into.
Oh, yeah. Well, you don't make it in radio unless you got fired. That's the story. That's the deal.
That.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's real. And so how did you get your way from Michigan over to Tampa? What was in Tampa?
The Bone, 102.5 The Bone.
So you applied for the job.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't say I applied for the job. I would say I harassed the people that were working there for about, I would say maybe 10, 11 months before they offered me anything at all. And again, they offered me a promotions gig.
What did you like about The Bone that made you be like, that's the one I want?
It was all talk radio. Again, I'm living in Michigan at this point. I'm living in Detroit. I hate Michigan.
I'm sorry about that, by the way. Detroit is tough.
It was awful in a way that was later ended up being a blessing because I'm much more appreciative of things that I never was before. So, good weather, a body of water that's not a lake. Like it's just, Florida's kick ass. I love living in Florida. So I saw that there was an ad on All Access, which used to be a thing.
Good old All Access. Rest in peace.
Yeah. And they listed a job for an all talk radio station for like an on-air position. So at this point I'd been podcasting for maybe like a year and a half. So I had a pretty good demo of work, a portfolio of work that I could send to them. And so I did, and I applied through the proper channels. And of course you don't get a response. So I just decided, I remember I went home for the holidays in I think 2015 to 16. And I remember thinking to myself, when I return back to Michigan, and at this point I had dropped out of grad school, there's really no reason why I need to be in Michigan anymore. Yeah. I go, I'm getting a job at this radio station in 30 days. Like I will harass them. I will call them. I was like reaching out on social media to some of the cast members of the show and telling them to tell, the program director to call me back or text me back or write me back. And so people would go in the hallways and say, hey, John, like you got to message that girl from Michigan back. She's bothering me about you. You're ignoring her. So I was doing that to maybe 3 or 4 people, and they were all telling him, collectively to call me back. And he did, and ended up getting just like a, shitty promotions gig. And I said, okay, I'll see you guys in 60 days. So I quit my job, picked up my life, planned where I was going to live, and found a roommate. And 2 months later, I was in Florida.
Figured it out, man. Yeah. You figured it out. And that's the grind of radio. I always try to tell people, man, like it really is. You got to be annoying a little bit. People always, yes, a little. They got to remember you. You got to make it so that they're like, oh yeah, that girl from Michigan, right?
Right.
Let's talk about you working on The Bone. So you work on The Bone for a little bit. You even got to host your own show, right?
Yeah. I fought to get my own show, prime time.
I like that.
12 a.m. to 1 a.m. So, everyone's listening at midnight to 1 a.m. Yeah. But it honestly was probably the best thing I could have done. I did that maybe 2.5, 3 years. where I was hosting my own show. I did have a co-host, Will Koontz, who was awesome. By the grace of God, we ended up getting paired together, and we do a podcast every week to this day. I got
That's
fired.
awesome.
But we continued working together because it's hard to find like true chemistry with another person on the air. So when you find it, you got to hold on to it.
Yeah, people have they talk about, I wonder why these morning shows didn't work out. Well, these programmers decided to throw a bunch of random people in a room and they say, hey, figure it out.
Yeah. And that's what happened with us. But it worked out so unbelievably well, where we just thought very similarly. We had a very similar sense of humor. We could play off each other. When there was a lull, he'd catch me and vice versa. So, and he's also one of my best friends. Like, we just get on real well outside of radio.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that. And yeah. I'm really glad. It's really hard to have a major, because The Bone is a heritage talk station. It's been around for a long time. A lot of people, very well-known station in Tampa. So for them to trust you enough to give you a show, and it was good enough for you to make the moves that you made, I think that's amazing. So let's talk about your journey from The Bone to Bubba the Love Sponge, who used to work on The Bone. And we all know the fun stories about that. How did that road happen for you?
Well, I would say that I'm maybe one of the few people that was let go during the pandemic, but not because of COVID. Mm-hmm. So, everyone was furloughed or fired or laid off, whatever word or
makes you feel good.
Yeah. But no, I was actively fired because of something that had nothing to do with COVID. I had a little incident on Twitter again. Mm-hmm. So, and I had a few indiscretions before that as well, where I was writing stuff on social media or posting stuff on social media that got me in hot water. And by the time I made my last comment in June of 2020, they were just like,
we've had enough of you.
Right. We've had enough of you. I posted something that, looking back was timely, not tasteful is usually what I say. But it was time sensitive for it to be effective. And I thought it was necessary to post. And I'm shaking my head. No, it was not necessary to post. But it ended up in a weird sort of way, ended up being the best, dumbest decision I ever made. It was an impulsive thing to do. I thought my career was over, but I was fired, and radio probably better than anybody how hard it is to get a gig, especially now.
Oh yeah.
So the fact that I was fired on June 2nd, I'm a freak with. Oh no, I was fired on. Sorry.
Oh, me too. 10th. Holy shit, I love that about, yes, because people are like, why does that matter? Stop giving me dates. But I'm like, it does. It adds to the story.
Yeah, well, I have like an exquisite memory, especially when it comes to dates. So any chance I have, any opportunity I have to flex on that, I definitely will take it. So yeah, I got, the incident happened on June 2nd. I got fired officially on June 10th. And then I was on Bubba's program June 17th. So the fact that I was unemployed for 7 days in the same market is absolutely
unheard of.
Insane.
That's
like
unheard of.
It's ridiculous. I should have been unemployed for years, and I was employed for 7 days.
Did Bubba find you because of The Bone?
Well, because I'm really good about my networking and staying in contact with people. People always talk about networking and this and that. And, probably 99% of the people that you ever meet are not going to really be able to make any moves for you, but you cast out a large net, you stay in contact with people. And in that off chance that they can actually influence your future and your career, if you're good to them and you stay in contact with them, they will make moves for you. And that's exactly what happened. I don't know if you're too familiar with the Tampa radio scene, but Seth Kushner, who I worked with at the Bone, I'd stayed in contact with Seth, and he moved over to Bubba. And when I was getting fired, he was really instrumental in helping me through the process. And when I told him that there was a chance I would be fired, he was like, well, let me know. And as soon as I was fired, the next text was to him, and he told me that Bubba is interested in talking to me. And I think I was fired at noon of the June 10th. And by 2 p.m., I was talking to Bubba via text. So, I mean,
Wow.
I was making really quick moves, giant moves. And I knew the thing that was probably the scariest, besides being unemployed, was the fact that I had worked 4 years at the Bone, building up this network of people, you know, in the radio community, in the industry, just even people who are peripheral, lawyers, doctors, like people who can help you in real time when you need them. And I knew that the first day that I was going to be on Bubba's show, all of that would be gone. Like I will lose all of those contacts because the way that Tampa radio wars work, you know, you're either with us or against us. So,
yep. There's a few markets like that. Tampa's like that. Philly's like that. There's just a few markets where it's brutal. I mean, it's tough.
Yeah. So my first 5 minutes on with Bubba, you know, no one ever spoke to me ever again, minus Will Kuntz and one other guy. But other than that, everybody ditched me. You know, I got blocked a lot. But, you know, I started to ask myself, what were those people really doing for me anyways? You know, were they going to get my job back for me? No, you know, they didn't care what happened to me. And fair enough. I didn't care about them. They didn't care about me. So
it's kind of like the solo game too, right? You gotta they were doing what was best for them and they were keeping their positions and you had to do what was best for you. When you got to Bubba, did you know about Bubba and his history as a controversial figure in the 90s, early 2000s?
My knowledge of Bubba was pretty elementary. So when I first got to the Bone, actually, the first thing they told me, right? So I have my orientation. I walk into my boss's, you know, my new boss's office. We close the door and he goes, there's a few rules you need to know about working here. He goes, number one, he goes, I don't know what you've heard, but never, ever audibly utter the words Bubba the Love Sponge in this building. Like,
wow.
Do not say his name. And at this point, I knew who he was because I was, you know, I've been in radio, even just as a promo person. I listened to radio and I knew who he was, but I just said, okay, whatever. You know, I guess he's just the bad guy, but I really didn't do any of my own research because, to be honest with you, I didn't really care. But I did a little bit. I knew about the Gawker deal. I knew about Hogan. I knew about the sex tape, but it was only until he started picking people, you know, the Bone rejects. There's another guy named Rob Gargiulo who went there, and then Seth went there. And that's really when I started asking questions about Bubba and who Bubba was and the history of Bubba and Calta and the sex tape and all that. So by the time I got hired by Bubba, I did give myself like what do you call it? Like a Cliff Notes version of like who he is and what he'd been into and who he was. But to be honest with you, before I started working there, I really didn't know too much about him.
Was Bubba already on Twitch before you got there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You went into radio and just talking into a mic and producing your own show. But when you add a video element to it, do you feel like you do radio differently because you're on video?
Do I feel like I do it differently? No, I don't think I do it differently. The only thing that I don't love is with platforms like Rumble and Twitch and Kick or whatever, YouTube even, you know, there's a chat that goes along with it. If it was just the video component, fine. But when you can
read what people are saying, yeah.
People just actively insulting you behind a keyboard, saying just like the most heinous stuff, sometimes that can throw you off, especially if you're reading it while you are trying to broadcast. So I'll often collapse the chat. Just because it's a distraction, even if they're saying nice things or neutral things or, you know, nothing about you at all. But, you know, when they're saying mean things, sometimes it can get to you. And in most days, I can take it. But every once in a while,
we're human, man. We feel that shit, you know?
Yeah,
no matter what, I don't care how people try to, but when you're being seen at a large scale where there's a couple thousand people watching you at a time and you have, you know, a few bad comments here, a few good comments there, we really do start taking that in and processing it for sure.
Yeah, you certainly do run it through the noggin, the processing of the noggin. A lot of times I'm able to just discard it, especially if it's like mean. But like you said, every once in a while, you're just like, man, that hit me where it hurts.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you just have an off day, or you're not feeling too good about yourself for whatever reason. And yeah, so I've just made it a point to try to collapse the chat, especially during the show. We have commercial breaks where they're also able to see us and we can interact with them. That's a little bit better than when you're actively trying to stay engaged in a conversation. And then there's just this running commentary of people just saying horrific things to you. So it's a new element of radio that I don't love, but it's the name of the game now. So
Bubba, what is it like working with him? Is he the guy that everybody says he is? Is he sitting 10 feet above everybody to be better? Or what?
I mean,
what's the deal
I
with
guess
Bubba?
it depends who you talk to. Bubba, and I've told Bubba this to his face and behind his back. He is the funnest person I've ever met in my life.
Cool.
He is too much fun. He is exactly who he is on the air as he is off the air. It's the same guy. I don't know if he transformed into this larger than life Bubba the Love Sponge persona, and then we often talk about if he doesn't know how to break character, because he became this persona and now he doesn't know how to unbecome this persona.
Right.
But he's a good guy. He's a great guy. His haters hate him for everything that he's accomplished and working with Howard, being on Sirius, being syndicated nationally, still is, and we'll be honest, he's not where he was before, not even close, but also the nature of the landscape of radio has changed as well. So he's had to adjust, and also he's had quite a fall from grace, but it is a lot of fun working at the Bubba Radio Network. And
but it's hard to come back right now. Yeah. Like even comedians are getting it. People are showing up to comedy clubs and getting offended that a guy made a rape joke. All right. And so unfortunately, radio's had to follow in that pattern of sensitivity and stuff. And I think that's why, Bubba, in reality, if you want me to give you my honest truth, he's got it made. He created his own network. He still has people who enjoy listening to him, and he doesn't have to really deal with the corporate side of radio that can literally get rid of you whenever you want. And so it's definitely promising, right? Even if you had to make an adjustment, the fact that he was able to build his own thing, even after all the turmoil, is really, really actually inspiring and something that people should want to do for themselves.
I completely agree. And then, everything you said was correct. But on top of that, he also owns all of his content, like you said, because it's his own company. Mm-hmm. So it's not like The Bone, where your likeness and everything that you produce on The Bone, it belongs to Cox Media. This all belongs to Bubba. All the things that he's done over the years is his content. He owns the rights to all of it. So very impressive. The only thing, and yes, I completely agree with you. I am not built for corporate America in any capacity. So, working for Bubba has been a dream, because you can just say and do whatever you want. Like, people smoke weed and bring their dogs in, and I dress like, a homeless clown.
However the hell you want. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, he does not care at all. I don't have to toe the corporate line. He is the program director, the HR department. Like, he is all of
operations manager. He's everything. Yeah.
Yeah. He's everything. My direct manager, the top manager, there's only really 5 of us working there properly. That's the skeleton crew of it all. But yeah, I'm very grateful I don't have to work in corporate America. But the only thing that I would say is, there are internet trolls, and if they don't like you, they'll do everything that they can to just shut you down.
Yeah.
So, for example, we have this situation happen with Twitch quite a few times, which is why Twitch is no longer our main platform that we broadcast on. I would say it's Rumble, and YouTube and Facebook. But we got shut down from Twitch so many times because trolls would flag things as inappropriate.
That weren't even real. Yeah.
Yeah, or even if they are, they're just a-holes, So, there's certain terms and conditions that Twitch has, and they were getting tighter and tighter as it became more and more woke. So you just have someone flag it, and then all it takes is one executive to be like, yeah, you're banned for 2 weeks. And that's hard on business when our main source of revenue was Twitch.
Mm-hmm.
So we were just getting banned like every other week. So we had to change course. So, Bubba has a lot of fans, but he also has a lot of enemies. So it's been hard to navigate around those people whose sole purpose, because they have nothing better to do, is to just try to shut Bubba down. So,
do you feel like being on the Bubba Show has hurt you in the future if something were to ever happen?
I have very few skills, Dan. So I'm not looking to get an insurance job after this.
Okay.
So I could never thrive in that environment, that condition. So, but I wouldn't go in that pathway, down those pathways anyways. I don't want to ever work for corporate anything ever. Like,
sure.
I want to work for myself or mom and pop, like Bubba, where, I'm not dealing with this chain of command that's 12 people deep that I have to talk to this person to talk to that person. It's like, no, fuck that shit. I hate it. That's not me at all. I'm casual. I just want to say,
I love this though for you. Seriously. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Like, I love that you've been able to you fell into it at the last minute, and you've been able to carve out your own path to just do whatever the fuck you want. You show up, you talk into a mic, you be funny a couple times, you have a couple people to hold you up, and you get to go home. That sounds like fun. It sounds like you're having a lot of fun.
It's the best. It truly is a dream career. Now, the money isn't amazing. Like, I'll be honest, it's not. Money isn't amazing, but I'm 36.
But would you rather make the same money working at a grocery store or talking into a microphone? Right. That's how I always tell people. Like, I don't care.
Yeah. Well, it's not that I don't care. I am Jewish at the end of the day. Of course, I care about money. But the situation is this: like, the only resource that we can't get back is time. Right. You can always make more money. I could always leave and do some corporate bullshit and make more money. Of course I could. But time is something we can't get back. And if I can spend my days, like my morning, I wake up and I'm just so excited to go to work, so excited to see my buddies, so excited to do what I do because I'm passionate about it. No 2 days are alike. There's no boring day at the office. That to me is invaluable, and it's very hard to find. So even if I'm taking the hit financially where I'm not making, all the money that I would like to make, I'm spending my days and my months and then my years and possibly my decades doing something that I fucking love. Like, I feel like I'm the richest person on the planet if I get to do something I love every day instead of dread going to work like probably 90% of Americans and 90% of the world. Probably more than that, 95% of the world, waking up, doing things that they hate, don't like, don't find fulfilling. I find this incredibly fulfilling. All I get to do is research and learn and then come on the air and talk about all the things I learned. I love current events. I love politics. I love science. And I force people to listen to me talk about those things. So it's fantastic.
What was the biggest flub you ever made on air?
Like, actually on air, or like
did you ever say something wrong that was just like, whoa?
If we're extending air like to social media, or you mean just on the radio waves?
On the radio, just because I know how you can get in trouble for that, for sure. Like, social media is
I got myself into a bit of a pickle in 2017. I was so excited to fill in as it's so funny how far, not I've come, like, wow, I've accomplished so much, but when you start in radio, like, the smallest opportunities mean so much to you. Mm-hmm. And I remember I was given the opportunity because I was friends with that guy, Seth Kushner, who got me the job with Bubba. The phone screener on the Drew Garabo live show was out. And so he offered it to me if I would like to come in and work on Drew's show, taking calls. And I said, hell to the yeah, that sounds awesome. And Drew was also out as well. So another guy by the name of Soul Brother Kevin, he went by SBK, was hosting the show. And again, this was my first or second time working on Drew's show. I'm just elated. I'm so excited. I'm working out and the sun is still out because I was, sequestered to nights and overnights and stuff like that. So the fact that I was able to talk to a much larger audience, afternoon drive is second only to morning drive. So I was very excited about this. And SBK was hosting, and SBK is a black guy. And we started talking about strippers. And I said that I remember saying all strippers have daddy issues. And I was being a bit hyperbolic.
It's funny.
I'm sure there's like maybe one that didn't, but I mean the vast majority.
Yeah, I agree.
Daddy issues. I decided to make that claim, and he's like, "How are you just judging someone based on their occupation or something?" I'm like, "It's actually quite easy. Like you can judge most doctors. You could probably say they're probably smart and ambitious, Mm-hmm. So I knew exactly where this was going, and I immediately was like, oh shit. So SBK is a bit of a race baiter. He loves talking about, being black. So I went, oh no, I know where this is going. And immediately he was like, well, I'm black. What can you assume about me? And I went, oh no. Now, mind you, I'd been on the air for like 6 months at this point. I'm a newbie. I'm not even really supposed to be contributing to the conversation. I'm supposed to be screening calls.
Yeah.
And talking to people calling in and asking their name and all that shit. So all of a sudden I have to put all the calls on hold because he's engaging me. And everybody else that was there, I think it may have been John Senning and Seth Kushner, they just go silent. So it's just me and SBK going back and forth. And he's trying to pin me into the corner. So between breaks of him like yelling at me, I'm taking these calls, putting people on, and everybody is siding with me, which is
wow.
Yeah. They're like, you're race baiting, you're making her look bad. And all strippers do have daddy issues. Otherwise they wouldn't be strippers. And so that just made, infuriated him even more. And to the point where, I had the program director calling me, Drew Garabo, who was like,
are you serious?
Or was sick or something, was calling me after the show. John Senning was calling me.
Wow.
Me, okay. We had to have like mediation because SBK had filed formal complaints against me. It was a nightmare. So that probably only because I wasn't prepared for it. And I was such a rookie, I was such a rook. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I just thought, I'm on the radio. Like I might say something crazy, like all strippers have daddy issues. I didn't think that was going to be such an inflammatory remark, but it was.
But it works out, right? Like in a weird way. And this is why radio is so interesting. You can say something like that. You can piss somebody off on the show. And yeah, it sucked behind the scenes, but it made for great radio. The listeners, I'm sure, enjoyed hearing you guys go back and forth and people hearing the callers siding with you. Like, there is a fun aspect to it. And unfortunately, as I know how much crap you have to deal with behind the scenes, the listeners never really know that. But the goal is to show up and make good radio. And and you did that with that moment. And by the way, I do agree with you. I think the majority of strippers do have daddy issues.
We had bouncers calling in who worked at strip clubs were saying every single one of these girls have issues with their father. Either abusing them, not being present, or being alcoholics. Like there was something wrong with their father. And people were like calling in. I remember one guy calls in and he's like, I've been a bouncer at a strip club for 20 years. They all have daddy issues. And I was like, it was one of those things where I was so excited that people were taking my side. But also being in studio with him just feet away from me fuming also was like, oh no. So like,
it's interesting how you can be so messy and still keep your job. And there are guys at the Bone that are a little messy.
If those messy guys are making the station money, they'll stay.
Exactly.
So I was not. I was very disposable. So that's okay, though. I ended up somewhere better.
Do you feel like that came from that specific incident and maybe some other incidents that we haven't talked about? Do you think that it was because you're a female that you had to deal with that?
Not the SBK thing. That was just two people having an argument on the air, which is fine. Do I think I've had to deal with anything any more issues than anyone else because I'm female? No, actually, I'll probably tell you the opposite. I will say that being a female in this day and age, especially in a male dominated industry, has done nothing but help me because I'm the female voice, and there's not a lot of women who do talk radio, and of those that do, a lot of them fucking suck. So
that's true.
Just an inch of talent, you'll go a long way just because people need a female presence or they're being pressured. And I don't care what got me to the dance. The fact that I was fired from the Bone, the fact that I was a female, that I was friends with Seth, whatever. I don't give a fuck if it's talent. It doesn't matter. The fact is I got in, however I got in, but I'm staying in, based on, I would like to think merit, but it doesn't matter. Like I'm here, I'm having a great time. I'm living my best life. Would I have gotten the gig if I was a guy? Honestly, probably not.
Mm-hmm.
So being a female in a male dominated industry that is thirsty for quote diversity has been nothing but fantastic and worked only in my favor. So I know a lot of people are like, it's the boys club and it sucks and it's hard and people make fun of you. It's like, yeah, people make fun of you no matter what. If you're a guy, girl, doesn't
and
matter.
In any job too.
Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, man, it's done nothing but help me get farther than I probably would have if I was a guy.
One of the things I definitely noticed about you when we met a while ago was that you definitely have a strong personality. And I think that if you try to come off as this soft, little, prissy, perfect prude, you definitely will have a tougher time. You definitely seem like you can roll with the punches and you speak very confidently. Where do you think that came from?
Probably my
You have
father.
brothers?
It's no. A lot of people do think I have brothers. I have one sister that I'm not very close with, but I would probably say my father. It's probably the reason why I didn't become a stripper. Dad was around.
There we go.
And dad loved me, and so that certainly helps. I mean, I'm passionate about what I'm doing. I know this sounds weird, but when I hear those people who probably a lot of the people that were at the morning radio show, the people who were doing the top 40 adult contemporary shit, like, although I wouldn't want to do that, I do respect the craft because it's not something that I have the ability to do.
It's formulaic. It's very formulaic.
It is. And it's like, I'll be very honest with you. And I know that you mentioned Miguel and Holly, or at least Holly, I think in one of the podcasts that I heard you talking about with BJ, but I would listen to Miguel and Holly every morning on my drive to Bubba's show. Cause I would catch one of their talk breaks. And I mean, it's fake. It's fabricated. It's like, like kind
it's
of
a show. It's a show.
Yeah, it's
like,
hokey.
Yeah.
But I could never pull that off. And it was so nice to listen to stuff where it's like, you're listening to the news and the radio and this person died and the pandemic and these people and Trump, and you hear that shit all the time, and it bogs you down. And then you hear this group of people having this like fantasy life where everything's amazing, and oh my god, did you hear about the new Dunkin' Donuts fucking whatever, like just shit that doesn't matter. But it was so nice to listen to, and I remember thinking to myself, I could never pull this off, because if I were to try to sound like that, I would sound like I was making fun of it. Like I would sound like I was mocking it. I'd be like, oh, parody. Okay. Like, so the fact that they can pull that off somewhat authentically is, although I don't want to do that, I have an appreciation for that craft, because not everybody can pull that off.
Yeah. And I think, again, it goes back to like, what kind of career do you want in radio? Right. And what's sustainable, because the reality is, unless you're talking politics, talk radio is hard to find. There's not very many Bones out in the world. No. There's not very many Bubba the Love Sponges anymore. You do have to follow a formula. You do have to really think about PPM. You do have to think about all these things. So when it becomes a money maker instead of something that you can, like we talked about throughout this whole thing, is showing up for fun, and that doesn't really generate the money. Yeah, I mean, it's it's definitely, you got a fun seat, man. You got a fun seat, and I'm really proud of you. I'm really happy with what you've done for yourself because a lot of people fight for many years to get into this industry, and it's tough. It is not easy.
No, it's not easy, and you should be proud of yourself as well. I do remember having that conversation with you. There was like a third guy, right?
Yeah, my buddy Greg. Yep.
Greg. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I remember having that conversation with you guys. I remember where I was, like, in my room, like having this conversation. So it's really cool to come back. I mean, I want to say, I cannot believe that it's been probably close to 10 years, at least 8 or 9.
Yeah. It happened in 2015.
Okay.
I kid you not. And I don't even think you were at the Bone yet, were you?
No, I was in Michigan. I was still working promo, doing that, living that luxury lifestyle in Detroit, Michigan. Not really. But yeah, I remember having that conversation with you and seeing where that was going and trying to make the connections and network and do all that sort of stuff. So I'm proud of you for staying with it. It's not easy, and you're doing it. And it seems like, I asked you for a link. You sent me one immediately, and I'm like, all right. Immediately, like, started listening, and I'm like, this guy's got his shit together. So yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, man. That's so cool. Absolutely. I really appreciate that. It's funny because I was home. This was during the pandemic, so this is a few months after. Now, I never listened to Bubba's show, and I started seeing, I was just browsing Twitch one day and I found the show and I'm like, oh shit, Bubba's on Twitch. Wow. Of course I knew about Bubba throughout the years, his feuds with Opie and Anthony back in the day and with everyone. Yeah, exactly. And so I was listening to the show and I heard your voice and he kept saying Anna. He kept saying Anna. And referencing it, I'm like, is that the same Anna? Well, I go to look, and I saw for sure it was your last name, and so I texted you immediately. I had been listening to the show for a couple months before I even realized that it was you, and so I texted you in 2021. I was like, holy shit, you're on Bubba? That's crazy. So I'm so damn happy for you, and it's so funny, how small the world is, because never did I think, we were going to cross paths again after 2015. So that's super cool. But
we both, I think it's pretty evident that we both have a lot of grit. How old are you?
I just turned 30.
You just turned 30. Okay. Wow. So, I mean, you're even quite a bit younger than me, but it's rare for millennials and especially anybody younger than that to have any sort of delayed gratification where it's like, we expect it's this Amazon Prime culture where it's, you start working and then 6 months later you're like, all right, I'm ready to make 6 figures now. It doesn't quite work that way. So when you meet like-minded people who are ready to weather the storm long-term for a goal that they may see 5, 10, 15 years down the road, I appreciate that quality in other people. So
I appreciate it. I loved radio since I was 6, man. And I was like, when you have a dream for so long, you only have one life to live, right? And so, go for it. Whatever it is. And I remember even hearing, Ed Sheeran in an interview talking about, this is his early days. And he was like, I gave up everything and did little shows. I would do shows for 5 people. And he was like, I left school. And he was like, if you want to do nursing, if you want to be a doctor, if you want to do anything like that, go to school for sure. We need you. But if you really do have a dream to be in some form of entertainment, whether it's media, whether it's being a musician, you gotta just do it. Yeah. You gotta just do it. And whatever helps you along the way. I have a friend in radio. She's been doing this shit almost 20 years and she still bartends on the side to make extra money.
Yep.
And so it's
grind.
The grind, baby. It's a grind. Tell me about your podcast.
Oh, with Will. Yeah. So it's not really my podcast. It's Will's podcast and I'm his co-host. It's called HMB Radio. So we kind of just discuss what we're mostly interested in. Will's very much like a culture wars guy. So we talk a lot about, political correctness, woke culture, how crazy it's getting, current events, all that sort of stuff. So that premieres, I believe, every Sunday, but we record live every Wednesday, actually, at 4 p.m. Eastern. So
all right. And where can they find your podcast?
You can find it on YouTube, Spotify, hmbradio.com. That's the website. It's listed there as well.
Anna, it's been such a pleasure to have you on, seriously.
Thank you.
And honestly, I'm just so happy for you. You sound great on Bubba's show.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just glad that Bubba's got a place for you, and it seemed to be a great fit. It seemed to have worked out in your favor. We will definitely be in touch.
Yes, absolutely.
Don't be a stranger.
On your life.
Tell Bubba I like him, and he can make all the blind jokes on the air that he needs to. But yeah, Bubba's always been fun to listen to, and so the fact that I have a friend who works on the show, even more of an incentive to listen to him. So go check out the show. Check out Anna and what she does every morning, Monday through Friday. The Bubba Network. You can find Bubba the Love Sponge. What's the website to find the show?
It's funny you say that. If we just are doing a revamp, but just if you look up Bubba the Love Sponge
You'll
Radio,
find it.
It's going to pop up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're changing it. It's going all over HQ this. I don't know. I'm getting essays of emails every day from the guy putting it together. It's so annoying. But if you look up Bubba the Love Sponge Show, it's going to pop up and you'll find us.
You really put me in a tight position right here because you don't do social media. So I'm just asking you about where they can listen to you because I can't ask you where the hell are you on social media?
I know. I'm so done self-promoting and I'm not knocking anybody because it is so necessary to get your name and your brand out there. But it was rotting my brain, so I decided to preserve that first. So.
I tell people all the time, though, if I wasn't in radio, I wouldn't have this social media shit. I really wouldn't. If it didn't mean keeping up a presence and being in people's faces, I don't care. I really don't care.
I know. I just I wish I was more dedicated to the cause, I guess. But I just realized that it was killing me and it was sucking up so much of my time. And I'm like, I need to nourish my brain with facts and books. So I decided to let it all go.
You got to come to morning show boot camp.
Yeah.
They'll love you over there.
Yeah. I love it.
I appreciate you, Anna. Thank you so much for being on.
Absolutely. Have a good one. Okay. Thank you.